Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Julianne,
I'm Katie Maris.
and today we're going to talk about the impact of COVID-19 on financial managers and the guidance that they're giving out, particularly looking at Johnson & Johnson. And we are joined by,
John,
Julianne,
John Cesario.
Untitled.
thank you. So to give you some overview on how Johnson & Johnson makes money and does their business, they're obviously a huge company, and their three main segments are pharmaceuticals, medical devices, and then consumer health products. Some of the big brands that you'd recognize be Tylenol, Listerine, Band-Aid, Neutrogena, and Aveeno, as well as things like Rogaine. So a lot of companies right now are dealing with how they're going to be giving out their guidance for the year to Wall Street, considering all of the volatility that's going on right now. As we looked at before in class at how the stock market is just extremely volatile right now. We saw that one graph due to the panic that's going on in the stock market, all the supply chains that have been disrupted due to all the closures of companies, and then the impact of remote work. For example, with this, some employees, well, most employees aren't able to make it to the office to do the end of the year financial reports and or for the quarter, and then they're working with external auditors to figure out how they're going to deal with the materiality of what's going on right now and how they're going to be doing their inventory counts and just all those implications. And then as well as all the uncertainty right now with the stores closing down, deciding which stores are going to be essential and how consumers are going to get their goods. It's likely mostly going to be online, but there's also a lot of backups and shortages with that. Reduced trade between companies as a lot of governments are just completely shutting down the country. And then all of the lockdowns that are keeping consumers in their houses. Since this is an event that the country has never really seen, and especially in the modern economy, we haven't had to deal with. I think the last time there was a pandemic of this scale was the Spanish flu, and that was operating in a completely different society and economy, as well as happening in a wartime environment. So managers really have no guidance that they can look to help them through this. It's all just kind of a gamble at this point. And we have really no idea what's going to happen with this virus and if it's going, when it's going to subside, how that's going to happen, and if this is going to be a recurring thing every year, or if this is even ever going to go away. So they have a quote in the article that we read saying, "One thing I know for certain is that we're going to be 100% precisely wrong." And this is because all forecasts are just good guesses, essentially. As Professor Mitchell says, all estimates are wrong.
But how can you be 100% precisely wrong? What do you think he was trying to get at with that? He used the word precisely. Why do you think he used that instead of just be 100% wrong?
And that just shows just the extent of how little they know.
Okay.
And that this is just an event that's just overturning the way that everything is working. Like I read an article this morning that was talking about a way to trade in the stock market that is usually profitable for traders is now unprofitable, like when they decide to trade. So this just sort of flipped everything around that they know. Gabe, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, but I agree with you, like, precisely wrong. I feel like we've never really had a situation like this, so it's really hard to be accurate during it. So I think that's what he means by precisely wrong.
And this might really change the way that we operate in society, how we going to do work and business and even interact with each other. A lot of people like Bill Gates and other thinkers are predicting that this will change, move more to remote work and the way that even education is done, and just sort of really fundamentally change that we go about our business for a while after this and maybe even permanently. We also are looking at the buying habits of consumers during this time, so we don't really know how they're going to react after the peak of the virus is happening, so after where we're at right now. Right now they're moving obviously more towards just essential goods. So products in Johnson & Johnson's line, like for example Rogaine, they're not going to be profiting off of them as much as they will more essential things. And we don't know if after this, if we're going to go, how deep of a recession we're going to go into. Right now, the projections are saying that it's closer to depression levels, the Great Recession levels of unemployment and depression in the stock market. So they could get very bad, very quick, and very suddenly. But we also don't know. That's just a prediction, and it could smooth out. So it really just depends on when and how this is going to play out.
Okay.
So, what are some opportunities that Johnson & Johnson potentially resulting from the current situation? So they're working on a COVID-19 vaccine. They started development in January, and they committed more than $1 billion of investment in a partnership with the Federal Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority to co-fund vaccine research. And that's an opportunity for them and then their stock jumped 8% after announcing that they would hope to begin human testing for the vaccine in September, and then it could be available for emergency authorization in early 2021.
So what you had with that is they announced they were going to do something that could generate a lot of future revenue, and investors made a decision that that was valuable and would increase the future cash flow of the company long term, and therefore value the stock higher.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think it really? Do you really think September is realistic? If they're just testing it in September, we wouldn't be able to use it till a year from now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead.
I think they're saying that, yeah, that they'd have it out in early 2021 for like the public use, and they wouldn't make any profit from it then until the FDA approved it. They said this is a process that usually takes like 5 to 7 years, I believe, or maybe a couple years, and they're going to try to do it in 5 to 7 months. So
Okay.
honestly, that's like can be a little suspicious, I think, if the final product is going to be as effective or as high quality as they want it to be, and if there's any effects that they don't know about that might happen long term, since we're pushing it to the short term.
Okay.
So it might not be they might run into snags as they try to expedite the process.
But do you think it's more important to get something out there than to have nothing?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Right now.
Tyler or John?
Actually, I kind of just looked into that. What is your opinion on, I mean, every biomedical company wants to obviously be the first one to get the vaccine because it can be patented and then they make, a huge amount of profit on it. So what is the take on Johnson & Johnson's? I read that they partnered up with somebody for $1 billion, but it seems like a lot of these biotech companies are just pumping money into vaccine research. So what is Johnson & Johnson doing that's different, or are they a bigger scale company that they can invest more money than these smaller cap biomedical companies, or how are they handling this whole vaccine situation?
So they're currently in a very strong position on their balance sheet. I mean, they have $17 billion in cash and cash equivalents in their reserve, and they're thinking that they're not likely to change this position since they are looking into keeping their clinical trials going, looking into different medicines and devices that are out there. They're also, they're a huge established company that already is in this business, and they have like the the resources and the clientele and the know-how and the research and development to be able to be on the front runners for this. Instead of giving
Is
them
I didn't really hear you there. Is the $1 billion investment? How big of an investment is that in their R&D? Is there, assuming they're a research kind of based company, is their R&D already a substantial number on their balance sheet, or is that something that $1 billion is really a huge investment?
I'm not really sure what their R&D is like on the balance sheet, but I don't think it's that much. Or yeah, usually they have like 10 billion of R&D for the past fiscal year, so it doesn't look like it's that much compared to others.
Yeah, it's 10% because their R&D is about 10, 11, 12, 11 billion.
Yeah.
There's really not a risk with it either, because even if they fail, it's not going to, and even the goodwill is not going to go down that much because everyone's rushing it out. So it's not like usual where if it's really bad, that the public should be really mad at the company because everyone's just rushing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I read something that one of their subsidiaries, actually based here in Rochester, Ortho Laboratories, has come up with a test to test antigens to see if you had it. And once you had it, you might most likely be not get it again. What do you think would be more profitable for the company, to compete against the virus or to the vaccine, or a test to prove whether you have it or not, have had it?
I would
What do
say
you
that
think might be more valuable?
I would say the test, because I've heard that that's how they're going to try to get people back into the workforce, by just having broad scale testing of if you have antibodies for it. And that's like
Okay.
going to be the next wave. I think they're looking to even do that in New York City within the next coming few months after the virus peaks. So I think that's probably more likely to happen sooner and have a bigger impact on getting people back to work and back into normal life than a vaccine.
Okay, that
The
makes sense.
vaccine will probably, yeah, vaccine will probably be centered more. They're saying it's more for the high risk populations like healthcare workers. So that'll be a more concentrated part of society.
Do you think some of these pharmaceutical companies were caught off guard by all this, or did they have stuff in the pipeline, so to speak, to?
I was reading about this and I've heard a few anecdotes as well as I know someone who used to go to Cornell and he had a professor who was all studying coronaviruses, but he was never able to get funding for it. I was reading about the other, the prior SARS virus, and they had a vaccine in the pipeline that was just forgotten once that like sort of dropped out of urgency. So they did have starts to looking into coronaviruses, which that's the common cold is a coronavirus. So there's so many of them out there, but they had starts into treating the more severe ones. But as they sort of died down, it wasn't profitable, it wasn't worth it anymore. So they did have knowledge of them existing, but I'm not really sure if they knew that this was going to be the big one.
Okay.
I think it
So
was
you're
probably,
probably thinking that they probably have a lot of research around these viruses.
yeah.
They just didn't identify something around this. So they're now trying to take a process they probably already have on vaccines and
Yeah.
figure out how to do it with this specific one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then there have a spike in demand for Tylenol and other self-care products, Motrin and Benadryl as well. So that could be an opportunity for them because they're probably going to see a decrease in demand for non-essential products to come if we are going to go into a recession.
Okay.
And then a strong balance sheet position with $17 billion in cash, and they're unlikely to make short-term changes to investment strategies to preserve this. And they continue with their clinical trials to develop new medicines and medical devices. and needs on the seller side might lead to deals and negotiations that would not have occurred otherwise.
So there could be a consolidation within the healthcare and pharmaceutical field.
Yeah.
And there was another thing that I read that I'm not even sure how accurate this is, but they were saying at some point that ibuprofen was not recommended to take to manage the fever with the virus. But there's still like very conflicting and changing research on this. And that's another thing that impacts this so much is that their findings seem to change like every hour. So if ibuprofen is going to be one that's going to be decreasing, if people, whether that's true or not, if people read the news about it, then they're likely to believe it. Then that might help their position with Tylenol if they're competing against Advil.
Okay.
And what are some factors referred to in the article that are likely to impact Johnson & Johnson's guidance going forward? So they're going to try and be transparent and clear about their process and assumptions. And they're going to take experience from the first quarter and make projections based off of that. And they're going to diversify their product line. Some will do better and some will do worse, so it'll balance out. And to date, the near future predicts drop in the consumer product lines and medical devices for elective procedures as customers prioritize essentials.
Okay. And again, the purpose of forecast is to give people a sense of where the company's going. What would happen, do you think? How do you think an investor might look at a company that doesn't provide guidance? What might be your overall view of it? Any conclusion you could draw from that about management?
I think the article did mention how companies were probably going to pull their guidance and maybe revise it. I think at this current point in time, that might be viewed as like maybe okay, since you'd rather give out. I think it'd be preferred to give out no guidance than guidance that's horribly wrong. So
Okay.
if you take a little bit more time to reassess where they're at, and as he says in the article, just to make sure that their direction is right,
Mm-hmm.
and that they could be communicating about any changes they're making, then that's going to be better. And just to keep investors, I guess, in the know, even if they're letting them know that they don't really know what's going to happen.
Do you think these firms like Johnson & Johnson, their finance folks, have run multiple scenarios of what could happen?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And then they're probably taking action around them.
Yeah.
Okay. What did you guys learn from doing?
I guess for me, I learned a little bit how a huge company operates in so much uncertainty, especially after coming out of a time where the economy was pretty great and companies felt pretty confident, and then this just sort of blindsided everyone. So just seeing how they react, and also how they react in particularly a health-based situation, and being a health company and how they react to that, what they are going to try to do, and how they're going to allocate the resources to vaccines and medical procedures.
Okay. Great.